Okay, so we have your 1-point perspective city. It should look like this. We need to decide on where our sun is going to be. And I'm going to put our sun like right here. And then, so I know where the sun rays hit, I'm actually going to put a little dot in my sun. And I'm going to draw lines so that I sort of have some kind of idea where the sun rays are going to hit, or how they shine. Now usually I make these very, very light so that you can barely see them. But since I want you to see them on the video, I made them a little darker. And I'm going to go back to my sun and I'm going to erase that little vanishing point in the sun and the lines that come from it. And here's the sun, and here are the sun rays. Now there's a couple of things that you need to know. 1-point perspective is a way to make things look 3D. It makes things look deeper, like they're going back into space. But there are other ways to make things look 3D. Shading is one of them. And if we shade the sky here at the horizon line is lighter, and as it goes up, it tends to get darker blue. The objects closer to us are darker and more detailed, and as they go back, they get lighter and less detailed. So right now, let's think about 3 different values. Value is shading. Okay, so we're going to think dark, medium, and light. For instance, if the sun is shining this way, it's hitting the face of this building. So this building's going to be light, and I'm going to put a little L right there. That's going to be light. The side of the building is not going to get direct sun, but it's not going to be really dark either. So I'm going to put an M for medium. Same is true for this building. It's going to be light here. It's going to be medium here. Now the light rays aren't hitting the surface directly here, so we're going to put medium, and it's not hitting this side at all, so I'm actually going to put dark. Okay, we're coming down this way. It's not hitting this side at all, so I'm going to put dark. And it's sort of glancing over this. I'm going to make this medium. Now when you color in with your pencil, I don't want it to look like a lot of scribble lines. Okay, so if I'm going to go medium here, I don't want it to be too light, and I don't want it to be too dark. So, and I'm actually circling, making ovals with my pencil. And I want to make this line nice and sharp right here. I don't want it to be messy. Okay, so this is going to be medium. Sometimes you can use the side of your pencil. Sometimes I use my fingers. Now when you're using pencil to shade, you can always lighten it up if you get it too dark with your eraser. And if it's too light, you can always darken it with your eraser. And remember, I want to keep the edges of the building nice and sharp. So we're going to say that this side's not black and it's not white. So we're going to say medium because we're going to try to keep it to 3 values for right now. Okay, so here's medium. Now the light, I want it to be so much lighter that you can automatically tell that this side's going to be a lot lighter. And the sun is hitting it, so it's really going to be light. I'm going to clean up my straight lines here, keeping it very light, even if you have to go back and use your eraser. But if you have little squiggles that stick out everywhere, it's not going to look neat. Okay, so here it is. I'm actually even going to lighten this up a little more. Okay, so here is medium and here is light. Now the dark part, I'm going to make pretty dark, and I want to make it nice and clean along the corner line of the building. So here is dark, here is medium, and here is light. I'm darkening my medium up a little bit. So there needs to be a definite change of value at the corners. Now this is medium because the sun is passing over, not directly hitting the surface, so it's going to be a lot like this one. But I need to keep it light enough so that there's a definite change in value at the corner of the building. I'm going to clean up the edges here. Sometimes it's easier to use the side of your pencil. Okay, so we have medium, light, dark, and medium. This side's going to be dark. And this side is going to be medium. Want to keep the lines where the value changes nice and crisp and clean. Medium. Want to keep it lighter. I need to be able to tell where the dark and the light are. Keeping your lines crisp. If I go over the lines, then I come back and I erase a little bit. Okay. This is going to be really light. Ooh, here we go. Sorry. This is really light. And this is going to be medium. And I might have this a little dark, so I'm going to lighten it up a little bit. And if you like to smooth it out, you can use a tissue or your finger. Remember, we want to keep this line crisp. Now, if I were taking my time, I would be making these sides of the building as smooth as I could. But I'm trying to hurry so I have enough time to show you other things. Now you can also do this in color pencil, using the same pencil but just pushing harder for the dark, not so hard for the medium, and barely pushing at all for the light. But for today, for this assignment, I want you to use a pencil. See, I've got things a little dark here, so I'm going to lighten that up. And then I'm going to do this. I'm going to make sure that my line is nice and crisp here. Okay, so, and I know I haven't done my windows or doors, but I want you to get a feel for what we're doing. Okay? So, usually when I shade windows, I sort of go at it like a diagonal, and I don't do the whole window. I might do something like that to show that they're windows. Doors can be a little darker or lighter than whatever your value is on that side. So if it's light, because the sun's hitting here, I'm probably going to make my door a little darker to make it show up, realizing that the light is hitting that door too. So I just chose a different value to contrast. And this is going to be very light to contrast against the medium. May want to do this door a little dark. Make sure your lines are crisp. Over here, I think I'm going to go diagonal and just make a very light shade going here, and then just leaving it. Now, let's see. I think over here, I'm going to make it look like a closed garage door. Using my centimeters and going half a centimeter, whole, half, half. Then I can connect them. And I'm not going to draw as hard as I can. I'm just going to lightly connect them. Are you where you can see? Okay, so now it's like a garage door. This door I'm going to keep very light. Now, the ledge up here, this is the flat part, and these are like little walls that come up. This inside wall isn't seeing the light, so I'm going to make it at least medium to dark. Making sure there's a difference at the line so your eye can immediately pick up a difference in value. Okay, so there's the dark ledge. This end I'm going to make medium because the light probably gets to it a little more than it does this one. And sometimes it might be even darker here and then get light as it goes over because of the way the sun is shining. because of the sunlight, it's going to be darker here on the flat part and lighter as it comes over. Darker, and then it's going to get lighter, and darker to lighter. So it's going to be darker on this side and lighter as it comes over. Okay, so there's my buildings. I'm trying to keep this where it needs to be. The sidewalks on this side, I want to show you a cool way to do them. However, because the sun is blocked, these sidewalks are going to be darker. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to make one side darker, like along the side and along one end. Sorry, along the side, along one end. Along the side, along one end. Along the side, same end, all the way down. And then you can take your finger and do this. And then this side doesn't have any sun, so it's going to be darker. Now once the sun hits here, everything's going to be just a little lighter, but it is the same side. And then we want to make a nice, clean, crisp line. Okay. Here, it is going to be darker, but not as dark as over here. And it's going to be darker in this corner. And we're going to say darker along this side. Darker right up against the door. And right there. I know this can get messy and it gets your hand dirty on this side. So you can actually use a scrap piece of paper under this hand so it doesn't smudge everything. If you want. If you don't want to smudge with your finger and get your finger dirty, you can use a tissue and do the same thing. Let's see, I've got this, and I'm going to do this. And I know that the sides here are going to be a little darker. And if you want to separate the sides, you can go darker at one end and get lighter as you go across. Actually, it'd be this end. Okay. So there's my sidewalks. Now, if you don't want it to be so much of a harsh line, you can lighten it up if you want. And it helps if you keep around the outside of your edges crisp and clean. Okay, so you're going to do the same thing with this sidewalk, except the light's hitting this. So it's going to be like a medium. Not dark, but a medium. Down one side and down the other. Down one side and down the other. And then all of a sudden when it comes to here, it's going to get a little darker. going to be really dark back here. Okay, so I'm going to do this and go down that way. And this is lighter on the ends, so I'm probably going to leave it lighter. This would be more like a medium on the ends. Now, for the garage door, I am very lightly going to color each end, sort of like that, and I'm doing it by each board. I'm not just going straight up and down because it doesn't really work that way for some reason. Okay, and it's coming toward the middle and sort of fades out. And then I'm going to do this. And then I'm going to go back in and sort of darken the lines that separate these guys. Okay. There we go. Now the lines for the road are going to be darker the closer they are toward you. And as they go back, they should get lighter. However, once you get used to this, then you need to think, well, is it going to be lighter if the sun's being blocked here? Or is it going to be darker on one side maybe? But it's still going to get lighter as you go back. Okay, so this is how you do your buildings and your sidewalks. Your road, if you colored it in, would be darker here and lighter as it goes back, but you don't want to make it black because then everything just goes right to it. So if you did, the darkest part would be up here, but your darkest part should only be like that. And it would help if you went the way the road goes. And then as it goes back, it's going to get lighter until it just turns light. And then if you wanted to smudge it, you could. But it shouldn't be any darker than that. So, for the grading, I want all of your buildings shaded. I want your sidewalks shaded. And I want your road shaded to make it look more 3D. Now, if I have a car parked here, it's probably going to be darker under the car right here too, isn't it? Yeah. bit over here. Okay, so it's lighter the further away it goes. This one would be about the same because it's not really going back away from you very much, not toward the vanishing point anyway. So the road would be very light. If I were going to do the car, and you do not have to have a car on yours, that's fine. But if I were going to do the car, I would leave my headlights light, and I would darken in this front flat part. To make the headlights pop a little bit. And I would also darken my line up to make it look like a nice crisp line. Okay, I would make my tires look really dark. Because they're under the car. And I would crisp my lines up. I would make this a little bit lighter. I would make this the lightest. Then I would go back and I would make this just a little darker. Okay, I'd probably darken the chairs in a little bit, or the seats in the car. Then I go back and define my lines a little bit. Make sure that we can see where they are. Okay, so your grade will be on where your light source is, where it's hitting the sides of your buildings. Your three main values will be dark, medium, and light. And actually this looks like it should be a little lighter. So see, you can go back in with your eraser and create lighter areas. Okay, so now if you feel really good about it and you want to keep going, then you can. You just need to take into consideration where your light source is coming from and where the shadows would be.